right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and tonight's show is going to be loaded. Apparently, Russia is deploying peacekeepers into Ukraine into at least two parts. We're going to follow exactly what is happening on top of the drills that are going on. We are also going to check up on the entire world, what is happening right as we speak. Is this the moment that will go down in history, or is this just one big sham? We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in the show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough.
I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough now the sand falling through the time stone.
All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, a.k.a. Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Welcome. This is a live show, so if someone shared me with you, of course, remember, everything we're about to say here has a source. If you want to go over to marfooglenews.com, you will see that it is very easy to navigate. It is all done by thumbnail. Look for what happens next, and then, of course, you will see they come in peace. Of course, referencing the peacekeepers that are apparently being deployed, essentially military with a sweet name, going into Ukraine. So what is about to happen? We'll talk about that tonight. We'll talk about what we think, what the public thinks, and then, of course, what mainstream media is saying they think. Again, you'll see all of the links. If we show you a picture, an article, a tweet, a video, an archived document, it's all going to be here on our website, and then you, of course, can follow along. If you grab a second device, like a tablet, you can actually go and read along or read back or retrospectively go and check our work. Now, once you hit this yellow bar, that's web-only content. That's the stuff that is too hot for TV. That is the stuff that essentially people are getting knocked off for or hidden for even talking about. That stuff is a whole other show down there. We make sure to spread a ton of information through our website. Now, if you go over to the right, if you would like to support us in any way, you can do so through our website. Of course, you have the Amazon link. A lot of you already shop through Amazon. If you click that box first, it will then go through our affiliate link, which means we'll get a commission. You won't pay anything more. And then, of course, we will get a financial benefit from that. Otherwise, all of our affiliates like EMP Shield, these are things that we recommend that we think will either save lives, make your life better, or, of course, make you live better. Again, there's also My Patriot Supply at the very top. Make sure to check that one out. $150 off on 3 months supply of food. Again, these are all things that people are already doing. If you do it through us, then you can help out your favorite channel at the same time. Let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I am doing just fine.
So we'll go right into it. American Airlines pilots harrowing UFO reports to FBI so detailed it shook the experts. Exactly 1 year today, UFO experts were buzzing about reports of a pilot who claimed he saw a long cylindrical object flying over New Mexico. American Airlines and the FBI confirmed reports that the flight AA2292, which was traveling between Cincinnati and Phoenix on February 21st, 2021, had a near miss with an unidentified flying object shortly before 20 past 1 local time. The pilot contacted Albuquerque Air Traffic Control to request information on the bizarre sighting and was heard asking if they had, quote, targets up in the air. In an audio clip of the radio transmission, he added, "We just had something go over the top of us. I hate to say it, but it looked like a long cylindrical object that almost looked like a cruise missile type of thing, moving really fast over the top of us." Now, pretty freaky. We're talking, possibly even a missile instead of a UFO, which is kind of freaky. Again, it says, American Airlines initially played down a report. A company spokesperson confirmed the incident in a statement that said, quote, "Following a debrief of our flight crew and additional information received, we can confirm this radio transmission was from American Airlines Flight 2292 on February 21st. The Federal Aviation Administration added their statement that air traffic controllers did not see any object in the area of their radio scopes." So one thing, Dex, that I thought about is in that same time frame. Well, I guess hold on here. Was this in the same time frame as here's the thing. This is kind of freaky. So when they first had the audio, it says, "Do we have targets up in the air?" Were they going to hit something? Was this a missile that was knocking something out of the sky? What do you think, Dex?
Well, yeah, I'm not real familiar with pilot lingo, but I'm not certain that targets would apply in a commercial aircraft. I was kind of thrown off with that term when it was used, unless they're just using radar targets as a generic term for anything that's up in their vicinity, right? But yeah, I totally agree. That was a little odd, that statement.
Well, wouldn't if the Federal Aviation Administration and air traffic controllers, would they not be in direct communication with military if they found something that was odd or, say, military that they needed to know? Would they patch it through? Like when you call 911, when you get the initial dispatch and they patch you through and you're on the phone with not only fire or police or whoever you end up wanting to go through. Does it work like that? Is someone a traffic controller here that would like to add light to this? Please let us know. Tell us in the chat or make a comment. If you're an air traffic controller, how does this story kind of reach out to you? Do you think that we recently had an issue where we just shot something down and these planes accidentally saw a missile over the top of them? Remember, they're flying fast, and then a missile is flying, and they see it going over the top, and they said it looked possibly like a missile of some sort. But otherwise, it's a general UFO or a new craft or an experimental craft from the U.S. or from somebody else. But that is freaky. If you have anything to add to this, email me at adam@marfooglenews.com. Around right now, it's definitely important, especially on the tail end. As many of you know, Australia said that China had targeted one of their planes from a warship to their planes with a laser of some sort. And then, of course, we covered probably, 5 weeks ago, FedEx wanted to add anti-laser weapons, like as far as like Dex, was it an anti-laser weapon? Well, do you remember?
Yeah, I believe it was an anti-laser, or it was a laser-based anti-weapon they were putting on, was it FedEx and some other ships to sort of use as a deterrent against potential missile strikes. And I did hear from others in chat that target is typical radar lingo.
Okay,
so that would have been normal. It's not to be mistaken with a military target.
What? So if in chat, what does that mean? Like, do we have any targets up in the air? When they say that in the context, what does that mean? Like, does that say, do we have
like radar blips, like anything showing up on radar?
Oh, and they said no. So they're essentially, probably because it looks like some sort of target or something, I'm guessing, on their screen. So when they see that, they say, okay, there's nothing. So they did not pick up that. I don't know, that almost adds to that it might be some sort of missile or some sort of, something flying through the air that wouldn't pick up right away. I don't know. And then Of course, it says, as the prospect of war looms over Europe, New York officials assess local cyber threat. So one thing that we have shown you time and time again, and I don't know why, everyone is pointing this direction. So besides the argument whether Russia is trolling, which again with the recent updates to this story, it looks to be at least they very well are taking some areas. Maybe they're in cahoots. Either way, the underlying message, which we always try to look for the underlying message, is we are heavily warned that someone is going to do a cyber event to the United States. They're drilling for it. Remember, before this last 2 years of stuff that happened, there was a very, very particular drill. It had the numbers 2, 0, and 1 in it. And it basically played out. And in that thing, if you read kind of the plan for it, it actually reflected upon the last 2 years almost perfectly. Now there has been a new drill that has gone off, and it's a simulation that went through a cyber event, a grid down scenario, and all sorts of different things going on. We have had so many parties from all over the world say, like they know they've seen the itinerary, like, oh, they're going to take a couple parts of Ukraine, then we are going to sanction them, and then they're going to respond with a cyber attack. This is what has been said time and time again, and they say it confidently. Like, it's not even like they may, it's like, oh no, they will hit us with a cyber attack. I've attached videos and video evidence of this on marfooglenews.com, on that Marfoogle News video, which, by the way, I just want to point out that video that we just did a couple hours ago, not even, maybe about two and a half hours ago, it's upwards of 60,000 views, and what it shows the public is like 15,000 or something. So it's like it's like they're trying to siphon it down so it doesn't hit trending. I've had maybe 1 or 2 videos hit 60,000 in 2 hours. Like, that's insane. And that's how fast it's going. But again, they're showing that it's like at 15. Our real-time views in studio says that it's just skyrocketing. So I don't know what's going on there, but again, it seems like some of the opinions we have are not wanted. Now, they are saying that as a last-ditch diplomatic drive to prevent a full-scale conflict in Eastern Europe appeared to falter on Monday, New York officials sized up the possible local threats rippling from the expected Russian invasion of Ukraine. It says that Western leaders have warned that the invasion is on track to begin this week. In fact, there was an official this morning, military official of ours, that said that it will start today. Lining that up with, of course, they just closed at midnight their time, so about 4 or 5 hours ago, they closed the airspace over the Sea of Azov. And so it does line up that possibly maybe that's the last thing. They also placed a bridge between, I want to say, Belarus and Chernobyl into Ukraine. That bridge is actually held there by boats. Because it's a river, the river moves down. They actually have these amphibious boats that are actually attached to the pieces of the bridge, and they're constantly sitting there. So you'd think it wouldn't be weeks ahead if they're having these boats basically just go full tilt 24 hours a day, keeping this bridge there, unless they were planning on doing something. In the same way that, China loading up, or Taiwan loading up mines outside of its island, they quickly approved that, and they said that they would start doing that. That's something you do right before an invasion. Obviously, you don't want to just put mines out in the water for cruise ships to hit, unless you are really expecting a massive, massive thing happening. Which, again, I still have not faltered. I believe that China and Russia are completely and utterly attached at the hip now. They have said that they have a no-limits partnership, that they will back each other up, that they'll do all of that. Now China has the largest navy in the world, alongside with Russia and all of this. If they split our military and our allies, because we are the big bad boys right here, if they split our navy into two, off in the South China Sea and the Mediterranean and over there, then of course we are weaker. Even with all of our allies, again, this is starting to become an actual matchup. And just want to remind people, Russia and China are not the backwoods militaries they used to be. We know this for a fact. We've had people resign saying, I don't want to be at the helm of this when it goes down. They're ahead in AI and in technology, which is absolutely terrifying. Why would we let a state that does that kind of draconian things to their people end up being bigger and stronger than us? Now, they're not bigger and stronger in all areas, so that's what we're all kind of holding out hope for. So it says that they have warned the invasion is on track to begin this week and could result in the largest conflict in Europe since WW2, a conflict all but certain to rattle markets and yank the globe back into a new cold conflict. Now, because they called it a Cold War, essentially, I do want to point out the UN chief actually made a quote recently, and he said that often I get asked if this is as bad as the last cold conflict. And he said, actually, this is much more complex, and it's actually worse than what that was. So the UN chief is actually saying it's worse. Now, I hope not to see UN involved in any of this again, but that's kind of another place where it's like all of these different world leaders and world mouthpieces are talking about this. They all are pushing for this. It seems like this has to happen. I wonder if this is supposed to fix a lot of the financials that just got spread out through all of the rich people's pockets. Think about it. Everybody did something similar to us with their stimulus and these crazy $1 trillion plans. Where do you think that money comes from? We just collapsed our whole financial system. Something has to go. We're talking about getting rid of cars and getting rid of gas-powered engines in a matter of a few years. And our entire money system, the entire world, is based on a petrodollar that's supposedly not going to be used. So what do you think has to happen before that goes into play? How do you take everyone's mind off of a massive power play and put it into something else? This does benefit some people. And of course, a lot of people will not be benefited whatsoever. In fact, they won't be on this earth anymore. But do they care? I don't believe so. That's my opinion. So and they keep talking about these cyber events. So what are they preparing us for? In New York, more than 4,500 miles away from the brewing battle, the menace seemed remote, but the upheaval still carried dangers, a point underscored by Governor Hochul, who convinced her cabinet on Sunday for a review of the state's cybersecurity defenses. The governor said her office has been in close contact with the White House and the Department of Homeland Security, and that a cyber attack could upend New York's infrastructure. Now, remember, New York's GDP, or if it had its own GDP, is actually bigger than all of Russia. Is that right, Dex? Or am I?
Yeah, they're over. That's correct. They're like over 2 trillion for the GDP, and Russia's like 1.4.
Yeah, that's incredibly kind of mind-boggling to think that Russia does not have the GDP of, say, a state like New York. Now, people go, well, then how do they even have money to do this? They have it's the spending compared to our GDP and how much we spend on military. It's the most, right? But it is it's still less money. They are spending the same kind of money that we are. Less than us, of course, but they did it through the 8 years that we were reducing our military, and they're spending money that we don't even know about. They're spending secret money on stuff. And who knows, we may be helping them. They may have teamed up with another major power. They could have infiltrated our entire system, and they could have just taken us over from the inside out. We don't know. What we do know is us as civilians, we need to make sure that we are looking at every option and look at what is coming.
And Adam, just another point. Russia spent $61.7 billion on military, according to the research, in 2020, and the U.S. spends about $765 billion. So we outspend them tremendously, right? But we're still behind on certain things.
Yeah, the fact that we're having all these negative, these bad hypersonic tests is either a lie, or it's a very terrifying aspect of this whole thing that they have somehow this greater weapon than we do, and somehow we're behind. Now, I know all of us are hoping that the U.S. has these magical super weapons that, are 30 years ahead of anything that we've ever seen, that are, straight reverse engineered from UFOs or given to us from Atlanteans. But what we do know is they are at least telling us this one thing. People want to totally disregard what mainstream is saying. If you look throughout history, there's been a pattern. Mainstream has given us signs of things to come this whole time, because they want to get you used to the idea of what's coming. And they want to minimize certain effects of what is actually being done. I think that people that completely zone out mainstream are not... You need to look at mainstream and analyze it with a fine-tooth comb. Because mainstream is telling us what is happening, or at least what they want us to think is happening, right? Even if it's a wag the dog situation... That situation, if it's on this large of a scale, is going to affect all of us. And if they need an event to trigger everything off, for this kind of thing, it's got to be gigantic. And we're talking about an entire, country getting cyber attack. Remember, all of these smaller countries, at least money-wise, have had their grids affected in the last 2 or 3 years. It seems to me like it was practice. Venezuela had its whole grid go down. We had chunks, 10 million plus in Mexico without power. The grids went down. We had Cuba did certain tests. And remember, they said it was for one thing. Didn't Cuba lose power? They just lost all internet. And that's why we put Operation Starfall into place. Do you remember that, Dex?
Yeah, they did, but they also lost all milk too.
Can you explain why that matters?
No, I'm just talking about things that they've lost. But yeah, they lost all their milk.
Well, we all lost our marbles years ago, but we still keep going. Well, again, they put into place Operation Starfall, or they put this bill to get approved, where they would, because of, they said, and then everybody says, no, that's just for Cuba. No, it's not. It's for the world. They created this Operation Star, and I'm sorry. I want to make sure I'm accurate here. Operation Starfall is a real thing. This bill that needs to go through the House or whatever is to deploy it, or to be able to actively deploy it. It sounds like they already have Operation Starfall. If you Google Operation Starfall, you'll find it is an operation that would, in the event of everything going down, our internet, our GPS, everything, they would launch these balloons with, basically satellites to low Earth orbit, to basically not even low Earth orbit, but high up in the atmosphere, and that would be grounds to communicate with for military and whoever else. They also would use it for, say, if Cuba cuts internet access off to the rest of the world, they could launch these balloons and they could still get a hold of people, or the Cuban people could still use it. People thought that was just for Cuba because that was at the same time that Cuba lost all internet. It wasn't. It was already in the works. And we already know about balloons, or I think it's balloon. Some of the big daddy tech companies have already come up with these things where they're balloons with internet, essentially like a Starlink, but only with balloons. So they're looking at different things to keep communications up. The DHS sheet that went out to these small businesses, and by small businesses, I mean companies that are already contracted with the government to make certain parts or specialty parts. Like one in particular made the triggers or the parts for the missiles, right? We had a mod that used to work in this business. Basically, if a nuke was to go off, it would have a little part inside it to make it go off. There would be a company, this is just an example, to make that part. So that part triggers it when it hits, right? A company like that is a specialty company, and it does this kind of stuff. Well, they asked these specialty companies to come up with a mass fatality tracking system, and they wanted it quick. They wanted checkpoint, like deployable checkpoints. They wanted radiation and chemical detection that could be worn, a wearable that would actually be able to detect radiation or things like that. They wanted a broadband kind of communication systems that they could use no matter what. And it was all on the same sheet. I mean, it painted a picture of what the hell is about to go down. It also there was something related to zoonotic diseases transferring from animals and some sort of device that would help with that. So there's a lot of things that are being put in there, and if you are not following all of this, that's why we try to bring all of this together and say, like, hey, there's kind of a picture here that is being painted by all of these tiny things around, and you guys are all grabbing this. You are some of the smartest people in the world, so I know. There's a reason why the mainstream is copying alternative news. You go to watch Fox News and they're talking about the elites and escape pods and bunkers and all of this stuff. They are realizing that they're losing their audience to people like us. So don't think that somebody else somewhere else is doing the right thing and we're doing the wrong thing. This is where it's happening. We're watching history in the making. And then we have the Canadian MP says single mom has had her bank account frozen for donating $50 to the convoy. That's impressive. Impressively disgusting. The MP says that the bank account of a single mom with a minimum wage job has been frozen after she donated $50 to the convoy. Everybody knows what we're talking about. And you know what's crazy? Freedom is now a filter word. Who do you think just bought the U.S.? I wonder. Canadian banks have been freezing the accounts and canceling credit cards of people linked to the trucker event, in accordance with the Emergencies Act, which Prime Minister Justin Trudeau invoked last week in an attempt to clear the demonstrators from Ottawa. Now, Dex, I guess we should say this is supposedly, right? But it sounds I don't
know. This is coming from someone in the at the government level, so I would say it's probably fairly legit. And we're hearing this all over the place too. So this
how can they do
reporting, this? That was the act. That was part of the act that was in that he entered. One of the first thing he was doing was going after the funding and going after the people that were part of the funding.
Are most of you opening your eyes now? Are your family members now opening your eyes? Got to share parts of this out. Like, unbelievable. They think about that. They were able to freeze a bank account. Just one. Doesn't matter if it's one or thousands. The fact that just because they donated to a cause, doesn't matter what the cause is, that their bank accounts were now frozen.
And I heard, Adam, that they had closed Parliament's sessions last week, where they would have had more of an open debate about this. They ended up closing it. So the members of Parliament, probably like this person here, who probably had something to say about it, right? And many others didn't have the opportunity to do that.
So behind closed doors made all the decisions. Angel Webster says, coming to a neighborhood near you soon. Raquel R. says, this should worry folks. Yeah, it does. Eliza, yes. Magic Prepper, hey. Was that? Yeah, for security or whatever. I tried to stop. I stopped in and, again, I didn't have time to, I said hi a couple places, but Belinda Golks, antagonist, now, freezing a bank account can only be done by a bank. So the question is it contractual? I don't know how. By the way, Magic, you did the video. It said every prepper knows what's about to or what's going down right now. How do people not see this? That's what I say. Even if it was all manufactured and all three of these world leaders, four of them, whatever, is all, the middle E guys, everybody's having a party. Bring your own beer party. Who knows? It's still very obvious that something massive is in the works right now. How do people not see this? We saw before it happened the whole the entire demic that just swept across and now has just disappeared. Remember when the last president said it would just disappear out of nowhere? Guess somebody was right. And then a group of protesting begins trip to D.C., this area, this week. So they're saying that the same thing that's going up in Canada is happening down here. We don't know how yet this is going to affect. I think the weird part about all this stuff and the whole protests in both, why is this happening the same time as the conflict? Again, a lot of people think, oh, the conflict is to distract from this. But again, why, when all of these states are dropping the requirements for this? Now, some aren't. We have Foogle fam that are actually losing their jobs on March 1st because their job is canning them because they won't get the thing. They're in the medical provider, category. But why? Why are they just dropping everything? All these states, including the progressive ones, like Seattle, just announced that they are dropping the thing. You can go in a grocery store without one after March 1st. Washington, D.C., another progressive area, just dropped stuff out of nowhere. What is about to happen right now? Whether it's a real conflict or a wag the dog, are they about to make it look like something happened and do the next September 2001? What do you guys think? What is your honest opinion on this? Dex?
Well, as you mentioned, the idea of an event that would be catastrophic, kind of like what we saw in September. I sort of wonder, like, if these events are allowed to go on, how many of them are actually created or added to by the powers that be, right? And what damage could they do by doing that? And when you think about trucks, that's a lot of space, right? Like not just the front of the truck, but like the entire trailer can hold a lot, right? So I could just imagine, the opportunity is rife for someone to infiltrate what would normally be, some sort of peaceful event and turn it into something that it's not, right?
Yeah, there's lots of room for somebody what was that guy that was at the event that happened in January? He was on the most wanted list and then just disappeared and found out that he was somebody else, right? That he actually had a badge. So say something like that happens. Or this now happens here. It says that it will terminate in the vicinity of the D.C. area. This has room to become something much bigger, a Fantastic Freddy. But it also, what if they say, oh, well, what happened up in Canada works? So what if freezing that mom's bank account of $50 for her $50 donation, what if they do that here? What if they say, well, it worked in Canada, then they invoke one of our acts, which we consider what he just invoked kind of like the martial law of things. So there's lots of possibilities here. Again, it looks like it's going to be a bumpy and wild ride, and we're not even to the world stuff yet. Dex?
Yeah, and on one good point is they say they're not actually going into DC. They're just going to stick to the outside and out of the regions around it. So we'll see how it plays out and how many people actually join. But probably smart on their part not to actually enter into the DC area, or into the district.
It seems to me like there's a very good chance that they could make something happen that is manufactured. People should also realize what major governments can do as far as what they can manufacture. They have every resource at their disposal, especially ours. So if they want to give 25 people fake names and for the rest of their life they're going to live in witness protection program under a fake name, they can create people. They can give them backgrounds. They can give them whole life stories. We already do this. They already give people entire backgrounds and whatever. So what I'm saying is, all of a sudden we see in the news, oh, this horrible thing happened at this event. And then you see this person that popped out of nowhere. They'll even make 23 people that they have literally upended their life. They have a fake identity now just to corroborate that person existed. Like, oh yeah, I went to high school with him. We went to this high school. Blah blah blah. They'll make a fake high school that doesn't exist, that got torn down in 1978 and it was on a property that somebody privately owned. I mean, like, they go far to make sure that their stuff is covered. There's whole departments for that kind of stuff. Real quick, I want to say thank you. Irish Rebel, thank you so much for your support tonight. I appreciate you. RE55, I don't want to... I got to you at the very end of last show, but I did want to say thank you again. As a creator, to a creator, thank you for your support. SAC909 says, make sure everyone got their handheld radios. CBs and things like this, you can also, if you have a CB, I'd highly recommend making a Faraday cage for it, or getting some sort of protection for it. Irish Rebel, Craig Alicious, the U.S. wastes too much of that budget. Look at the F-35 program, $1.7 trillion on a plane that keeps crashing. Good point, Craig Alicious. And then Mr. Grape says, wait for it. Yeah, that's how we all feel. And then, hi guys, please read these books if you can. The Great Controversy and The Last Day Events by Ellen G. White. Lots of love. Hey, thank you. It looks like from Europe. Thank you so much, Irene Russell. And then DJ Cachizo, thank you so much for your support as well. I appreciate that. Proctor Kidwell, Simply Pony, Rebhild, Diane Moses, and Earthworm Jim. Thank you, everybody, for supporting. And then over on D-Live, thank you, everybody that has popped up. Everybody in Delaware Sasquatch. Bobby D, iPet Goat 2, Play by Future Chaos. Craziest thing, if you guys have not saw the thing that happened about 2 years ago with the tower falling, the church tower falling, and then that happened in real life. That video just freaks me out. iPet Goat 2. Release the Quacken, Delaware Sasquatch, Durango X Nubaru, Vicky K, thank you for the support. Thank you guys. Lisa K 23, thank you as well. Again, there's a lot of people out there that I'm just really praying for as far as their job and losing their jobs and things like that. India refused to condemn Russia. What's up there? Thank you. Dex, we've been talking about it. India seems like they're lining up more with Russia and more with China. Isn't that just absolutely nuts?
Yeah, it is. And remember, they're like the second largest country, so population-wise.
1.4 billion people. And they may be against us and teamed up with China. If you don't believe me, look at some of the stuff that's been said. Look at how they've taken their military back from the Himalayan mountains. And then look at how they've been drilling with Russia and China. They were, everybody thought they were mortal enemies. Apparently not. Maybe they all have something in common that they're willing to sacrifice that rivalry for. It's important that we all stop fighting each other, KL. I 100% agree. That's why we don't let anybody talk about any other creators here. As far as like a world goes, we're just doing our little part by not letting people talk about other creators here and other people out in the online world. But I think it does matter. There's people that are petty that want to talk, trash about each other and fight with each other. We're not a part of that. So again, I appreciate you saying that. Tico and Taco, thanks for the support. And again, pretty crazy stuff. Before we talk about Boris Johnson axes the CV rules on Thursday with changes to isolation, I do want to remind you, we have shown you why we think you should actually have protection for all of these types of things. EMP Shield is a company that has not only worked with DHS, they're on the Department of Homeland Security EMP Resilience Report of 2018. That same report that told us that if we do have a full grid down EMP scenario, that 90% of us would perish because we would not have drinkable, potable water and things would fall down really quickly. Now, there's something you can do to actually protect your devices, your car, your generator, your motorcycles, your house, your solar equipment. An EMP Shield. It protects against all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3. So, because they happen in pulses and it will keep happening. Again, and it can protect you against a Carrington-level event, a solar flare, CME. Again, this is at marfooglenews.com/EMP. When you go over and purchase through this link, not only will you get $50 off per device, but you will also be helping our channel out. They will end up giving us a commission for sending you their way. That's how that ecosystem works. And again, it's supporting your favorite channel and protecting yourself. That's marfooglenews.com/EMP. Again, make sure to go check it out. At least look at some of the things like the car protection. If you don't want to be stuck somewhere, this is the way to go. All right, and then Dex, do you want to talk about Boris basically axing everything?
Well, yeah, here we go. It's just like we're talking about here in the States, where some of these things are getting, reduced back from where they were very strict. Now we're seeing it in the UK, and obviously, he's got a lot of political capital he's trying to regain. But this is sort of yet another big sign where they're talking about taking away and getting rid of all the rules.
Why all of a sudden? I mean, like, it's just dropping out of nowhere. At midnight on February 24th, in 3 days from now, and why is this lining up with the conflict? Why are they, or are they saying, hey, who's going to care about this because we're about to have everything else going down? We're about to be going to conflict, so who cares about doing this? Maybe they who knows? Or maybe there's some that think that Russia and China didn't want to become part of the three-letter organization starting with an NW and ending with an O. Maybe that they didn't want to do this whole new system, and maybe they wanted to become number one, and maybe they want to replace whatever they have planned with essentially China and Russia ruling the world. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Self-isolation laws for people with CV will be axed from midnight on February 24th, meaning people with the virus will no longer be legally required to stay at home for the first time in nearly two years. So apparently it's back to a cold, I guess. And then Beijing scorns Australia claim that a P-8 patrol plane was targeted by a Chinese warship's laser. We don't know what truly happened here, and I would encourage everyone to look into this scenario. But it looks like China had targeted an Australian P-8 Poseidon. Now, P-8 Poseidons are the giant planes. These are the humongous, they're called Poseidon, and it's a matching name to that plane. It is a gigantic war cargo ship plane. And it says, for the lasing incident, I guess that's plural, or that's how you say that, incident involving two Chinese warships and the Aussie P-8 Poseidon. A war of words has broken out between Australia and China following a naval encounter in the Arafura Sea between Australia and the Western New Guinea. Last week, the Australian Ministry of Defence accused the Chinese vessel of illuminating a Royal Australian Air Force PLAAF P-8 Poseidon maritime patrol craft with a laser. China has now responded, calling the RAN in turn for harassment of one of its vessels, including allegedly dropping sonobuoys in their vicinity. 2 days ago, the Australian Ministry of Defence issued an official statement about the incident, which took place on February 17th, Canberra time. The statement described how the RAAF P-8 Poseidon with 10 crew aboard detected a laser illuminating it while it flew over the Australia's northern approaches. The warship was exercising their right to operate within Australia's exclusive economic zone. So another thing here, maybe this was just a kid with a laser pointer. Bring your kid with a laser pointer to work day. I don't know. But it sounds like this could have gone two different ways. If it was some sort of weapon that actually burned it or something, that could be considered an act of conflict. And that could have started something much worse. Was it illuminating? Was it a target system as far as like the laser was pointing at it? So then targeting it for one of their other systems? Don't know. But apparently they're trying to start this up. One thing that I would say is don't take your eyes off of China. Everybody is paying attention to the left hand. What is the right doing? And then we have Russian Terminator tanks move within 2 miles of Ukrainian border as conflict fears grow. Everybody has been talking about this forever and saying it's going to happen any day now. I don't know why. If they're saying if it, 3 weeks, it seems like they're preparing us for at least some sort of major event. One thing that kind of got let out is President B said it kind of depends on what they do. If they do a minor incursion and just a small invasion compared to a full-scale take the whole country. It made it sound like they were saying that they wouldn't respond as crazy to a minor incursion, which is now about to happen. We'll cover that here in a second. Dex, what do you, as far as these tanks rolling in, what do you think about this whole scenario?
Well, it certainly goes against this whole notion of, that it's just a drill or we're just pulling out. And then, of course, as we reported on news, we've got, quote unquote peace keepers moving in to certain sections of the far eastern sections of Ukraine, right? But we still have the rest of the Ukraine to worry about too. It's not just that section. So this is some big equipment, and moving them in and moving them closer and closer just looks more like you're preparing to use it, not just not that your drills are over and you're getting ready to go home.
Exactly. It doesn't. Actions speak louder than words. But again, they could be filtering out all of the results. They could be filtering all of the satellite images. They could be wag the dogging this. Even if they are, that means what is the plan? What is coming after this? Terminator tanks. I like how they say Terminator tanks. And then Russia officially recognizes breakaway Ukrainian regions as independent nations. Dex, do you want to explain, how did they do this? What would you think this is similar to? Is this kind of like some states recognizing Taiwan as their own country?
Yeah, so that would be very much like it, like another country saying we recognize that Taiwan is a separate country, and then we're going to go in and support them directly. So of course China would push back and say no, one China policy, they're part of us, etc. So that we see that all the time with Taiwan. So this is very similar. So the very, very eastern edge of the Ukraine, where these two regions are specifically the ones that are in question, because that's where the Russian separatists, so to call them, have been entrenched, and it's DNR and LNR. I think it's the Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic. Those two regions have been in conflict, as we've said, for years, many years, inside Ukraine, just with the regular Ukrainians against them with Russian-backed supporters. So, this act is basically acknowledging, from Russia's point of view, that Russia feels like they are independent countries and they have their own sovereignty, and now we're going to go in and support them, and they're not part of Ukraine.
So right now they're doing, it seems like they're going to do a minor incursion. How would anybody believe that they're going in as a peacekeeping mission after everything is said and done? Now they're saying these areas that they've been fighting in, we're going to end the fighting and we're just going to go take those areas. So what is going to happen every 5 years? We're going to have a minor incursion until all of Ukraine is somebody else's. Putin believes that the Ukrainian government is a puppet government. That very well may be true. Maybe this really is Russia versus U.S., and U.S. is trying to get their people and the NATO, the allies, one group of elites fighting another group of elites. What's crazy is part of these things are targeting the money. All of these elites, all they care about is money. And who knows, possibly some sort of greater cause that they, put crazy outfits and go out in the woods and cow tongues and stuff. Who knows? Maybe there's something greater that they worship. I don't know. But definitely very scary when you get up into these kind of people. What the hell is happening to us, though? That's what I worry about, is they are setting us up and telling us, if this happens, this happens. I'm worried more about if that happens, then this happens. Lisa, what's going on? Chauncey, Kathleen McCarthy. I think I was on RTTV They had a video of all the people at the train station. By the way, there is information coming straight from Russia with video coming and going around in some of the even the dark web that is showing some of the real footage. There are soldiers taking videos, and they won't allow it anywhere. A lot of that shows the trains full of these Russian troops. So is it a drill? Are they trolling, or do they have an agreement to take these two independent nations and we won't do anything? What is actually happening right now? And then Russia orders troops into Ukraine. Russia's move to overtly deploy troops into Ukraine's Donbas region is the latest worrisome development in the crisis between the two countries. Russian President Vladimir has ordered forces to deploy into two breakaway republics, which apparently happened today, in eastern Ukraine's Donbas region. This comes within around an hour of Putin signing decrees to recognize those regions as independent countries. You can get fully up to speed on how this situation has evolved already today and the potential ramifications of our initial reporting here. It says Putin's orders direct the Ministry of Defense to, quote, ensure the maintenance of peace in the self-styled Donetsk People's Republic and the Luhansk People's Republic, which are also commonly referred to as the acronyms DNR and LNR, respectively. These troops will be deployed ostensibly on a peacekeeping mission, a justification the Kremlin routinely employs when intervening militarily against its neighbors. They will also establish bases to support these operations. They're straight up going to roll into Ukraine and put bases. How is this? What idiot is in charge right now? I mean, gosh. This is just all a big pony show. And again, that's why I'm like starting to wonder, maybe there's no end of the world act. Maybe it's just end of the U.S. Looks like people have been paid. What do you think? Let me know in the chat. Again, Russian-backed separatists declared control over portions of Donetsk and Luhansk in 2014 following Russia's seizure of Crimea. The Ukrainian government, as well as that of the United States and others, has long said that the actual Russian troops have been directly involved in the subsequent conflict in Donbas, something the Kremlin has constantly denied despite significant evidence thereof. This overt deployment follows new allegations from Putin and other Russian officials earlier today that, among other things, Ukrainian authorities have been planning their own new major offensive against separatists in the Donbas region. Putin described Ukraine as preparing for a blitzkrieg into the region and reiterated previous claims that a is being perpetrated against the citizens in the DNR and LNR. Russian authorities have provided no hard evidence to substantiate these assertions. Now, I never believe a line like that. They have provided no hard evidence. That sounds a lot like something we heard a lot. Like there's no hard evidence to prove that there was any meddling into a certain thing, right? There's plenty of hard evidence. It's your definition of hard evidence. You have thousands of pieces of evidence to say, hey, this got meddled with, and this is absolutely wrong. But every media in the world goes, oh, there's no hard evidence. What is your definition of hard evidence? Scary.
Adam.
Scary parts here.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, do they have paid for judges that just throw them out and ignore it, so therefore there is no hard evidence?
Exactly. It's all a matter of money. Before we go into this, I want to remind everybody, got to go over to the website, make sure to see our sources, and then also, check out that video over on Marfoogle News. Make sure to share that out with friends and family. A lot of you have made comments like, hey, you need to do shorter form stuff because we can't do 2 hours. make sure to go over to news. We've been doing daily videos over there. So those are all videos that you can share with friends and family, normies, people that are just completely sleeping through this whole thing. And then we try to give perspective there too, and make sure that we're not just, we want to make sure that people are being open-minded and really looking at what is happening on the underlying issue. What is going to change? Are they going to make an executive order? Are they going to change something? Before we talk about the Russian airspace, remember you can also go over to marfooglenews.com and you can go check out the prep. This is what I mentioned in the beginning. You get $150 off on a 3-month supply. Go over and make sure to support through this. Again, you will get a discount on a 1-month or a 3-month supply of food, and at the same time, you'll be supporting us. Again, we do not get supported through the traditional routes. Like I said, that other video, purposely, it's like it was 60,000 views, but they hide that. They put it down to 11,000. I mean, it's just nuts. But also, because of the stuff we talk about, we're not going to be treated like a photography review channel. We're treated like the scum of the earth, and through search, everybody search is going to go, even if we have they type in the exact title. Give it a try. Type in any of my exact titles and see if I show up first. Even type in my exact title with the name of the channel and see if I show up first. 99% of the time I don't, and you'll see, the 3-letter agencies, CNN, FOX. So if you can support this way, this helps pay for our show. It also helps support our families. Again, thank you, everybody. Again, this is something that you want to do yesterday, not tomorrow. This is all sorts of things from air purification, water purification, long-term survival food, marfooglenews.com/prep. Very few go over and do this, so thank you so much for the ones that do. This is something that doesn't cost you anything extra. In fact, you get a discount, and you are setting yourself up for the long haul. The prices on everything is going up, so don't wait until it's double the price with inflation. All right, and then Dex, they're closing airspace, and we figured out this was about 5 hours ago. Is that right? Probably 5 or 6. It was midnight their time.
Yeah, midnight their time. So that would have probably been, I don't remember what time it was when we did it, but yeah, it's past. Let's put it that way. But the point is, closing airspace. This is a big deal, right?
Yeah, and that would also be an indicator of something happening. If they are closing airspace, they are trying to minimize civilian casualties in a drill or in the event of an actual invasion. It said amid U.S. warning that Moscow is closer to invading Ukraine, reports have emerged that Russia has closed most of the airspace over the Sea of Azov. This comes as independent trackers spot 10 new warships entering the Sea of Azov, bounded in the northwest by Ukraine. Russia's Aeronautical Information Center issued a NOTAM, a notice to airmen, Sunday notifying the closing of the airspace, reports the Jerusalem Post. It says there are other official notices about partially closing the airspace over the Black Sea as well. So this is massive. All of the Azov Sea and part of the Black Sea as well. Well, some have already taken effect. Others come into effect later this week. So are we seeing some sort of timeline playing out here? Are they trying to clear out the civilian planes? Are they trying to clear out stuff so they can start? Or is this all part of the drill? That is what we are wondering here. And then U.S. warns that Moscow has compiled a list of Ukrainians to target after invasion. Russia has compiled lists of Ukrainians to target after this invasion. It says a U.S. official has said President Vladimir Putin is set to address his country's Security Council, which I believe may have already happened. Dex, did we have that Security Council address?
Yeah, I think that's the announcement where he made the declaration of the two new countries.
Yep, and that's where he also said, what was that quote? Is that in here about the anti-communism thing? Was that in here?
It may be in here. It may be in. Let me find it. It's one of these articles.
Oh man, he some harsh words. It says that the U.S. and this is why it's like you say the U.S. had credible information, and it should always be in quotes. that Russia has compiled lists of Ukrainians. I want to see Norway had credible information. I want to see, Sweden. I want to see Germany or anybody but the U.S. having credible information, because we have CIA, we have NSA, we have all these different agencies that just make up crap. We have the wag the dogs, right? And we have a thirst to take over the world, behind closed doors and in the open. I mean, look at the last 2 years. It says that in a letter to the UN's human rights chief, seen by NBC News, U.S. ambassador to the UN, Bathsheba Nell Crocker, said the U.S. had credible information that Russia has compiled lists of Ukrainians to be or sent to Hams. Following an invasion, the contents of the letter were first reported Sunday evening by the Washington Post. We also have credible information that Russian forces will likely use lethal measures to disperse peaceful protests or other counter-peaceful exercises of perceived resistance from civilian populations. Meanwhile, some of the footage from the local neighborhoods, there are a lot of pro-Russia Russians in parts of Ukraine, and like they said, they were a lot of the people actually love Russia, right? Or at least that's what's said. But the videos coming out shows, and this very well could be propaganda, but it has regular people in their villages, like preparing for conflict, like getting all of their weapons. One person had like a table full of crossbows. Imagine this, like the guys with the pitchforks are coming, only they're high-tech drones and weapons. And now we're at least seeing that they really are going to penetrate Ukraine with their peacekeepers. We come in peace, and we're here to help. Dex?
Hey, Adam, that quote is in Screener if you want to read it. It was from our news show earlier.
Well, how about you? You can read it.
Yeah, sure. So this was during Putin's speech. It was a wide-ranging televised speech Monday evening. Putin described Ukraine as a historical part of Russia and that it was illegitimately taken from Moscow and is now run by a quote-unquote puppet regime controlled by the U.S. and the West. Ukraine, quote, is not just a neighboring country. They're part of our culture, he said. He then went on to say that noting that Ukraine has taken down some of its Soviet-era statues, he warned Kiev, in quotes, "You want decommunization, we'll show you what it's like," end quote. And then he immediately signed the decree.
Is that not a power move there? He says, "We'll show you what it's like," and then signed it. And then President B set to order sanctions on separatist regions of Ukraine after Putin decree. EU vows additional measures. Now, one question I have is, after he declares them and recognizes them, because they're part of certain councils, does that mean that those are now independent nations?
Well, I mean, that's just Russia's point of view, right? Ukraine would say no, they're not independent countries; they're part of their territory.
Well, what
and
makes
I guess NATO would back that up? I think when somebody is able to declare their own independence and break away, and then withhold that breakaway or be supported by someone else, then yeah, I guess over time it would then be recognized, right?
What makes that a military of its own? The fact that it can fight for itself, like Taiwan,
or backing from another country, right?
Yeah, and so now Russia's backing these areas of Ukraine, and they're saying that this is no. What if they just do that with all of Ukraine? They told us they supposedly had information that they were going to put in their own government after invasion, and look at what's happening. They're putting the leaders of these two areas, and then, of course, from there, what if they just put in their own puppet regime? All of them are puppets. The only, in fact, Putin and Xi, though, seems like they're not puppets. They're like psycho rulers that are friends with all these elites. There's there's definitely puppets around these neck of woods, right?
For sure.
I mean, I'll get in trouble if I say that. What? Extinguish Shiffy, Garden of Eden, not a place, it's a state of being. That's a great one. LOD, Will, what's going on? And Nyota, yep, they're all puppets. WEF runs it all. Kate Paul, yes, the forum. It's crazy that people are starting to know about the World Economic Forum. Cut the BS says, we can have Ukraine as far as I care. Ukraine and President B have been dealing for years. Jay Stone, what's going on? Hey. Bam Bam Suspicions, Faith Nevea Martinez. Nice to see you again. Seekers, not speakers. Power hungry control freaks. Somebody, Bam Bam Suspicion says, I have vids of Russian troops in eastern Ukraine. Dex?
Yeah, the question I have, or what I'm looking into, is it sounds like, in one hand, part of these sanctions are actually going in against just the regions, right? It's on the separatist regions. So if we put sanctions on the regions, are we then acknowledging the fact that they're separate? Are we recognizing it? I don't know. I mean, maybe there's a form of recognition that comes from that. But then, I don't know. It just seems kind of weak to sit back and say, we're just going to throw some sanctions over there and tell them to go home and give back the territory they took. That's not going to happen.
Everything is about, this is what they did. I think that President B didn't mean to blurt that out. Well, it depends on what they do. If they just do a minor incursion, then, I just throw some financial things like, oh, you're only taking a part of a country and making it yours or separating it from the rest of the world. And everyone, it's super obvious. It's like, come on.
We've got that quote if you want it. I think it's the last news tab. I threw it in there in case we needed it. But yeah, Biden said that. That was kind of crazy.
I mean, just crazy. Well, because that part, he's trying to clean up what he said. He's just blurted out all this stuff, and people are like, what? But you know what scares me is he's if he saw this coming and he blurted out everything that was going to happen as far as like, it's going to be, if it's a minor incursion, well, this. He also says that if they sanction those minor incursions, then we will have a response that's a cyber attack. Are we just setting up our own Fantastic Freddy so everybody, then the U.S. sits and suffers for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, a year, and then they reset the whole system? Or scare us enough, and we never want that to... Think about it. How do you line up people so they all just say, oh, okay, please just never have that... Everybody is hooked to their phones. Everybody is literally addicted to their devices, to electronics. Nobody. Think about today's people with no power, no electronics, no internet, no communications. People would die from stupidity. Think about how if you held electricity and internet and everything else up as a carrot, people would do anything. Even if they just turned off the power for a week. I mean, think about how horrible it would be without all of these things we're used to. Asan Skywalker says facts. I mean, think about it. People would be terrified. And like I said, if the power goes out and you realize your whole city's out, this is why people should start preparing. Watch the prepper channels. Watch the survival livings. Watch the Alaska preppers. Watch the magic preppers. Watch the channels that are teaching you how to do stuff or, getting you prepared for this stuff. And if not, try to take a little bit of time, because everybody has time if they make it. Just do a little bit a day. It's just like prep. If you take $5 a week, you could get yourself prepared sooner or later. We told you for 2 years. Over those last 2 years, a lot of you could have been prepping already, and you wouldn't need to get stuff now. Basically, and again, now the Russian stock market. Now, I said, hey, Dex, the Russian stock market crashed or tumbled or dropped, whatever you want to call it. And he said, yeah, but they're really small. And I said, well, that's why I think it matters more. So the Russian stock market took a huge tumble. It says that Russian assets tumble as military aid report spooks traders. It says Russian stocks fell the most since March 2020, and the ruble tumbled for a third day as fears of new tension grew following reports of a separatist official in eastern Ukraine had appealed for military aid from Moscow. It says the benchmark MOEX Russia index slumped as much as 8.6, while the dollar-dominated RTS index slid 10%, making it the worst-performing gauge in the world on Monday. While all stocks slipped, Gazprom JSC or PJSC and Sberbank PJSC pressured the index the most, falling more than 8% each. Essentially, they took a tumble. Our own Dow futures dropped. What I was saying is that before major conflicts, you have these massive financial moves. A lot of financial moves being done, a lot of insecurities happening, and a lot of stuff going on with the stock market. Dex, what do you think about the drop?
Yeah, I think when there's a lot of volatility like this, you'll see that the market, the people with all of the money in the market, not your retail investors like all of us, but the people with the real money, they start to make moves, right? And they'll move, whether they're moving into gold and you see gold go up, and they're moving, into other things, and especially real estate. That's the thing that's really killing it right now, is all of these investors here in America are moving their money into real estate because they know they're not getting it anywhere else. So if they put it into real estate and turn everything into rentals, then they can garner cash flow from the population, as opposed to getting nothing in return from their stocks or their other investments, especially in a bank account. You get nothing. So
no.
But yeah, this is it's always an indicator, and it's an expected thing to happen. You would see that in a time of conflict that, going into it, it's going to go down, it's going to take a hit. Certain things will go up. I mean, obviously the industrial complex stocks will go up, and, gold and other things like that will go up when you run into these scenarios. So it is an indicator, but it's also an expectation as well. But yeah, I was just trying to find out where they ranked, where the MOEX ranked, and it's so low it doesn't even rank. Like Brazil has a larger stock market than Russia, so it is important to them being Russia. But as far as like how much power it yields in, market cap across the globe, they're really small, and it goes hand in hand with the fact that their GDP is really small too, which is so surprising that this little place that, it's a large landmass, but it's really little. And when it comes to the financial output of the globe, is yielding or wielding so much power.
That's because all of the money is at the top. And I mean, the people there live poor. And that's why someone said that they were retired Russian military. They moved here like 25 years ago. They said that if you were going to live okay, that you would join the military because it would be a better life than just living in certain parts of Russia. I mean, there's a reason why people say, Siberia, they are tough out there because a lot of places lived on nothing. It's just as bad as other countries that are not even developed. I mean, there's parts of Russia that are really, really bad. Even if they're developed, it's like there's no work, there's no nothing. You don't make jack squat. There's still hardcore villages. I mean, there's villages there that are just really, it's like they're lucky to get, a few dollars a day. Dex, hold on here. So can you find when all of the elites dumped their stock just a couple months ago? Can you find a piece of information on that? Do you remember what I
Yeah,
talked
I'm
about?
looking.
It was the record.
Yeah, let me look.
Because I think that'll play a bigger part in this. So if you did not know, all of the elites and these massive groups of people, like Dex said, the people at the very top, not the regular, investors and Wall Street moguls. We're talking about the very, very people at the top. They just dumped a record amount of stocks. We've talked about this when it happened, but I want to ask you, what the hell do they know? Why are they getting out of the stock market and all at the same time? I mean, we're talking about a massive, massive dump. People should be paying attention and very concerned right now. Whether conflict happens, something is about to happen when they all dump their money. Everyone cashed out in record numbers. Natasha F., thanks for all you do. Thank you, Natasha F., for going over to the PayPal during the show. Bible Talk for Common People, thank you as well for going over to PayPal. Tub Pup says, just wanted to thank you for everything you guys do. Been listening for 4 years strong. For anyone struggling, I'd love to share. Recovery is possible. 2 years clean. God is good. Peace and love. Hey, that is really awesome. Nicole S., thank you for all of your hard work and always looking into things and sharing them with the fam. Thank you, Nicole. I appreciate that. Thanks for going over to PayPal. Able-bodied, nice to see you again. Really love the Fugel fam from my heart. I say this, please get prepped up, get prayed up. It's really happening, y'all. Jessica E., thank you so much. Thank you for your support. Kenneth C., Marf, no, it's a lot going on, but I wanted to call in and talk about the spiritual ramifications of what's going on big time. Appreciate the show before, too. Hopefully I can donate more soon. Drop the Fugel fam in an interview this week as well. Hey, Kenneth C., I appreciate that, and thanks for spreading the word. Teresa K., I love your show. Dex Mods and the Fugel fam. Teresa K., thank you. Lori G., Claire L., Davis D., Tracy Q., everybody from the last month. Appreciate you. Erica F., Mark, and Laura, thank you for supporting us. And then Dex, it looks like we have that link.
Yeah, I've got the link right there in the screener.
Okay, so look at this, people. This is terrifying. I don't think people realize how big this is. America's billionaires are cashing out their stocks like never before. I mean, it's like people like well, of course, Elon was one of them, but you just subtract him. Think Elon's Musk Twitter polls where he asked the public if he should dump billions in stock were just the latest troll by the world's richest man. Try again. America's billionaires have sold $42.9 billion in stock this year, more than doubling their $20.2 billion total in 2020. According to Bloomberg Billionaires Index, their rationale is clear and calculated, even as Musk has fun playing jester. It says the super rich usually hang on to stakes in the companies that made them super rich. That's because cashing out and realizing any capital gains comes with a hefty tax bill. But the times are unique. Stock valuations are at record highs, and tax on America's super rich could go up when the clock strikes midnight on January 1st. It says last month, the House of Representatives passed a super wealth surtax of 5% on income over $10 million and 3% more if it tops $25 million. The surtax would take effect in 2022. So I want to ask you, do you think that it's because of the surtax? 2 years in a row, we have had the record number cash out, which does not equal what it would if they kept it. Not at all. If they kept it and it tripled or doubled or whatever it may be in some of the largest companies, why do you think they cashed out? Do you think it's because they think they're going to get taxed? Or do you think that they're cashing out and they're preparing for something? I have a feeling we know what most of you are going to say. In fact, let's do a poll here. Why? And this can be, you can make up your own number 3. Press 1 if you think they're dumping because they know something is coming. 2, if you think it's because of the tax that may affect them in the future. Or 3, put in your own. 1, 2, or 3. And I'll leave that up for everyone to see. Wonder what they're doing with the cash. Princess prepping, I love that. Gale Firestorm, hey, nice to see you here again. Pablo, Blue Eyes, Twisted Luck, hey, how are you doing? By the way, I don't know if we have, I just wanted to say hello to Lisa Hall. Lisa R. Hall, thank you, I love you. Freedom Flyer, we've got Alex Rumsey, Patissa, Dolores, Ethan Porter. Oh yeah, lots of custom answers there. Look at that. All of the above. Great Reset is inbound. And one guy 420. There you go. Always got to have one at least. Spending the cash on prepping? I don't think so. I don't know. Maybe buying their own custom submarines or something. Higher Frequency 16, thank you for subscribing. Alejandro Orbital Blue, thank you so much for subscribing. Irish Rebel, if you are watching the live show, thank you for subscribing. You always get a shout out if you do it during the show. If you are watching the replay, I will shout you out at least at some point. Dex, do you want to talk about the web only? I do want to remind people though, if you want to get a silent solar generator, make sure to go over and check out Energy. This is really important. So if you are in an urban area and you think that you're going to be able to use your gas-powered generator if everything goes to just crap, I would highly just think about that. First of all, if you've ever had power off go off in your neighborhood, it's absolutely silent. And if you have an engine or a motor running, you better have a shed that hides that sound because people are going to be absolutely desperate. The one great thing about Energy and solar generators is they are quiet. One is running right now. It runs all of my gear here. In fact, both power bars, all of my music equipment, my monitors, and of course my lighting and my router. Everything is run off of this. This means that I can run this show regardless if we have power loss, which we missed about 6 shows last year because of that, losing power. But more importantly, if something goes down, this is one of the most sought-after generators out there because it is modular. You can turn it either into one battery or you can keep stacking it and turn it into a battery wall. You, again, can use this for professional reasons or just to go camping and to power your whole campsite. It is completely modular. You can add all sorts of accessories. You can get low-voltage accessories like a low-voltage stove, lights, chain lights, all sorts of things that you can actually power by this that are will last a long time purely based and powered off of this. Again, the marfooglenews.com/energy. Use the code Marfoogle. If you have not gotten this, again, make sure to go over and check this out. It takes no gas. As long as you have sun or a power source, you can charge it. And the cool part is you can add your own solar panels. If you have solar panels, just make sure you have the adapter. You don't have to go with their proprietary, or you can just get it all in one place. You can also get an EMP shield protected Energy. Make sure to go to the website and check it out. marfooglenews.com/energy. Again, that is marfooglenews.com/energy. And then Dex, let's go over the web only.
Wow. Yeah, lots going on over there. So make sure you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, scroll down to web only content, that yellow bar. If you're on YouTube, open the description, click on show notes. It's the first link there. You not only we get everything we just covered, but you'll get the rest of the story. So all the stuff we can't cover, it's either too hot for TV, too far to one side, or maybe too political. So go take a look. Lots going on. There's been some hints about potential running mates for 24 and what's going to happen there. A little bit of spinning around on the allegations that we've been talking about last week. New stuff coming out from the FD and the letter A. And then plenty of coverage on what was going on in Canada that we didn't cover here in the show that's on here. So all the additional coverage is there as well. And find out what happened with some of the folks that leaked the data, the images from the F-35 crash and more. Go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail of the show, scroll down to web-only content, or open up that description on YouTube and just click on show notes.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight. Multiple people went above and beyond over on D-Live. Thank you, T-Man Red Pill. End Times says, I got time. Much love, fams. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Need Streamer just followed. Thank you so much. Miss Jackson. Thank you, Miss Jackson. Release the Quacken and New Guy 21. Thank you for following. Mary XX. T-Man, again, thank you. Appreciate you. KL, it's important that we all stop fighting. Thank you again for the beautiful comment and the beautiful support. Thank you. And then NS909, thank you. Mr. Grape, Irene Russell, DJ Cachizo, thank you so much. Yeah, I hope I said that right. Bible Talk for Common People. He said massive dump, LOL. Yes, it was. Only a lot scarier than the funny Beavis and Butthead one. A while back, did you not talk about a weapon that could fit in and fold out of a shipping container? If I were to do a sneak attack, why not sneak one or more into the truck or the convoy? Dex, that's a thought in the convoy. Yeah. Beto, it's very possible. I mean, any country could do that now. All of the major powers have those container weapons, and that's a real thing. It's not some fringe thing on the internet. That's something that we at least know Russia has actual container plans for. China has them. And by the way, somebody made a comment and said, "Why aren't you talking about the containers off of our coast?" And then somebody else said, you should talk about that. We did, and I have mentioned it almost every other day. That problem is still there. There's nothing going off those ships. We still have this big backup. So it seems like we've already cut ourselves off from most of the Chinese imports. So something is happening, and will we see the result of that, of most of that not coming back in? They've just moved the boats around the bay. So something is happening here. What is it? Thank you for everybody that stopped in. Thank you for the creators that stopped in. Survival Living, I don't know if you guys have checked him out. Thanks for Magic Prepper. Thank you for stopping in and saying hi. Anybody else that may have stopped in, make sure to go check out Jacob Israel while I'm talking about creators. Amazing person on and off camera. Make sure to go check out Jacob Israel, the channel. Make sure to go check out Prepper Nurse 1. Make sure to go check out Global Witness and all sorts of great people out there. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Dex, thank you for your service today.
Much love. Great show, brother.
It is now time for a shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shoutro. It's a shoutro.
Was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. Was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. Bum 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 bum. I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. I once was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. Was a man of many convictions, and my dough and now the sand falling through the time stone. Bum 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 bum. bring you down, gonna bring you down, gonna bring you down. Oh, many convictions in the dough, and now the sand falling through the time stone. Back to kill, well, Irish rebel, KL, Uberdo, blue, now we know. I'm gonna bring you down, when you show you gonna be spelled. Now we know, gonna be about. When you come readiness, need a Lisa, better morning now. Island by the sea. Gonna going all again. Be nubby now. Gonna bring you grace now. Hey.
End of the world and we don't give a crap. Flip it like this and we'll flip it like that. End of the world and we don't give a crap. Oh, I said, oh, I said, oh, I said, oh. I'm gonna bring it with the graceful Raldo. Everybody like a big Geraldo. Everybody really want that banana. Do it down now, eat the banana. Josie and the Karen rocks. Donna Paulin, everybody asks. Hey, and the two about the Raxes. Bring down like a 2T Raxes. Hey, with the little arms. Hey, I do little arm. Alejandro and the Tico and the Taco. Orbital Balu. And everybody knows Balu from Jungle. A story I misconduct. Nobody heard me. Hey, with the tinfoil hat. Everybody asks what wanna pay. Peace now with the capital. Bring it right down to the shiggity whack. Oh, and the J-Stone 78. Kathy Pie and a hot mahalo. Not much love from the mahalo.